Hi, and welcome to Mondays with Marlo. Today, we have Alexa von Tobel. Rhymes with noble, which I like. She's the founder and the CEO of LearnVest, a financial planning system to empower women to take control of their finances, which means you got control of your life, right?
Yes, that's exactly right.
And you're like, what, 12?
I'm like 12. No, I'm 28 years old.
28 years old. How'd you get so smart?
Well, I went to Harvard, and then I went to Harvard Business School. I actually dropped out to launch LearnWest in the heart of the recession.
Really? And
I've
were
been working hard ever since.
your parents like involved with money or financing?
Yeah, I think my dad was always really good with money and would always teach me some things. But in general, my whole family's in medicine, so that's why I started LearnVest, because you never learn about money in school, and yet it's so important to your entire life.
That's right. Well, we have so many questions for you. Our community really needs you because money and finances.
Well, let's get to
this kind of time. Okay, this is from Val. Oh, here we go. Any tips on how to save more money? I really am not saving anything, maybe about $50 a month. I think the issue is I'm not organized about what I'm spending and where I'm spending it, but I don't know how to get organized. That's a great question.
It's a great question, and you know what? Most of the countries in this same
There's
position.
Val. Tell her.
So Val, here's what I would do. First thing is, don't be upset about just $50. That's a good place to start, and I would tell people that even $50 makes a big difference, because compounding interest over decades makes a huge difference to your retirement savings. So here's what I would do to improve that. First, go through your room by room, go to LearnVest, go through one of our free programs and see how you can cut your costs. Next, I would automate your savings, which means pay yourself first. This is one of my best things. Consider your future like a bill. Go ahead and automate another $50. Start there. See if you miss it. And if you find that you don't miss the money, and often we don't miss the money if it's taken automatically out of our account the day after our paycheck hits and is put into a savings account, you're going to be in great shape. And I think that's a great way to get you started.
What do you mean go room by room? What does that mean?
So we have a program, a free cut your cost program at LearnVest. It's all free. It's all online. And we go room by room through your house and give you the best tips on how to save. So things like if you open your refrigerator and set it to the appropriate temperature, you can save up to $400 a year because it's your most expensive appliance and it's on 24 hours a day.
Oh, I see.
So making sure it's set to the right temperature can save you on your bills, your electricity bills right there.
And what's another room?
So another great tip that I love is, changing out all your light bulbs, using your fluorescent bulbs can save you another $20 or $30 a month. We love to tell people smart ways how to cut back on their cable. There's a great site called billshrink.com. You put in what your cable bill is. They'll show you how you can save another $10 or $20 a month.
Oh, that's great.
So really good stuff. LearnVest has an awesome program.
That's great. Room by room. That's fabulous. This is from Brianna. My boyfriend and I are moving in together next month. We're pretty lax about who picks up the grocery tab, dinner tab, laundry, etc. now. But would you recommend laying down a system? Any tips for dividing finances so that nobody feels like they're doing more or being taken advantage of?
So I think this is a great question. So Brianna, here's how I would answer this one. First, married couples, 80% of them fight about money. So it's very important if you're at the point where you're moving in with someone to create some really good habits. Here's what I would do. Since you're not married, I don't want you to combine your finances at all. What I would do is set up a joint checking account where you both share it, and you'll put the same percentage of money from each of your paychecks into it. So let's say you make $2,000, he makes $1,000. You each put 50% so that you're equally carrying the weight of your bills, and then pay your shared bills out of that. So your dinner's out, your rent, your utilities.
Right, great.
That way you're both really sharing it together, and you're getting started on healthy financial habits and sharing finances so that they won't be a problem later.
That's great. But you have to have a plan.
You gotta have a plan. You gotta, especially when it comes to love and money.
This is from Dina B. Hi, Alexa. I'm living from paycheck to paycheck. I have $12,000 in my savings account. It's all I have, so I'm afraid to risk investing in stocks. But everyone tells me it's a waste to just leave it sitting there. What can I do to make that money grow without risking too much?
So Dina B, fantastic question, and I feel like a lot of people are running around out there thinking, I'm not investing, I'm not investing. But here's the reality. First, if you don't have an emergency savings account that represents at least 6 to 9 months of what your life costs you, so let's say your life costs you $2,000 a month for all your bills, food, etc., then you need at least $18,000 or $12,000 in a savings account. So it sounds to me, if this is your only savings, that it is not to be invested, because this is money that you need for a rainy day. Beyond that, there's a rule that you should know. It's called the 5-year rule, which is if you may need that money for anything in 5 years, it's never to be invested, because stock markets are volatile, as we all know from 2008. A lot of people lost a lot of money. If you need to touch the money in the next 5 years, so for a down payment on a home or to pay for your children's education, the money does not get majorly invested. It needs to be in a safe and secure place. So I'd look at a high interest savings account.
So at what point can you invest money?
If you can know for a fact that there's a portion of money, let's say $50,000, you already have your emergency savings account, you've paid down your debt, your student loans are in order, and then you have another chunk of money that you don't think you're going to need for 10 years, put it for the future. So things like your retirement savings should be aggressively invested depending on your age. If you're able to put away another big pocket of money, it should then be invested, all depending on your time horizon.
Now, you said she should put it in a
high interest savings account.
And so what is that? Explain what that is.
So that would be something, there's lots of really great online savings accounts. I would go to whatever bank that you're already with, find out what their interest rates are, but go to a high interest savings account or a money market account where you're going to get more than, right now about 1% is what's out there, not a lot of money, but see if you can put it in a CD or something else that's really safe, certificate of deposit.
This is from Alana. Hi, Alexa. I've been keeping track of my spending with an Excel spreadsheet. Very good. And I've been trying to make a budget for myself, but it's just so hard to stay on track with it and remember everything, especially with little purchases online and whatnot. Is there a list of steps that you found eases the process of making a budget for yourself?
So I love this question because this is exactly why I created LearnVest. If you go to learnvest.com for free, you can link all of your accounts. We now have the leading money tool online. For free, you can see if you link your credit card, your savings account, your investing account, you can see all of your spending. Our system will actually allocate it to different folders, eating out, utilities, shopping, whatever it may be, and we'll show you the average month by month what you're spending. So you can throw that spreadsheet away. Our system will save everything for as many years back as you absolutely want. And it's 100% safe and secure. We follow bank level security. So this is the best way to track your spending.
Great.
And we even have a mobile app so you can track it on the go as you're running around.
Wow. Okay, Alana, you got it.
Alana, learnvest.com, no excuses.
This is from Willa. I just graduated from college last spring and I've been interviewing for a number of jobs since then. When I'm finally offered the right position, how do I negotiate the salary?
So the number one thing I tell everyone, men, women, young, old, it is so critical that you negotiate your salary. No one else is going to manage your career but you, and so it's so important. And I always say the worst thing that can happen is you just ask and they say no, but here's how I would tackle it. One, I would actually go to salary.com and check out what other people in similar industries across the country are making for your job. So get armed with some facts. Next, you should come in and say, listen, I appreciate your offer, be gracious about it, but I was actually really hoping to get paid this because honestly, that's what is market rate. The worst thing that they can say is no, but if they do say no, go back to them and see if they can give you any other benefits. For example, can they pay for your cell phone? Can you get extra vacation days? Can they give you more equity? Whatever it may be, extra benefits, the ability to work from home 1 day a week, whatever it may be, but there's always things to negotiate. And again, the worst thing you can do is ask, and often your employer will actually respect you more for asking.
Right, of course.
It's the type of employee that I want to hire.
That's right. This is from Georgette. When will real estate rebound? Well, you could make a fortune if you knew that, couldn't you? I have 5 years to retirement, plan on selling to live off the profit. I'm in Southern California. Thank you.
Georgette, so if you know this, you call me and you tell me. But here's the takeaway with real estate. High-level principles are, in general, when you buy real estate, you want to buy real estate that you can really hold on to. It's typically not an investment, especially if you're not a real estate investor or a real professional. So I think the best way to think about it is buy property that you can hold on to for 5 to 8 years, a place that's big enough for you to really grow into. A lot of people got in a lot of trouble in 2008 from trying to buy things and flip them. And again, there's no crystal ball. The markets are volatile. You're never quite sure. But if you live in big cities, as you can see, things are coming back. So I think things are better than they were in 2008. But again, we don't know what the next few years are going to look like.
This is from Miriam. Hi, Alexa. You have something called the 50-20-30 method in budgeting. What is that? Why does it work? And can you explain and offer tips on how to successfully achieve that?
Yes. So both Marlo and Miriam, this is my favorite tip. It's so important, and it actually changed my life, which is why I like it so much. It's pretty simple. So everyone worries about budgeting down to the penny. That's great, but most people can't stick to budgeting down to the penny. So the best thing that you can do is think about the 50-20-30 rule, which is find out how much cash you take home every month after your paycheck. So let's just say, for example, you take home $1,000 after, 401k contributions, etc. And then what you should do is 50% or less of that money should cover essentials. That's literally food, shelter, etc. It's your rent, it's your groceries, it's your utilities, and it's your transportation to and from work, because that's how you get your paycheck. Next, 20% of what you take home should go to the future. That's for things like saving for retirement, contributing to buying a home, paying down your debt, building an emergency savings account. And then finally, 30% is what you get to have fun with. Can I eat out? Can I shop? Can I travel? But if you always stick to that 50-20-30 rule, you're going to be balanced for the future. And one thing that's really important, and when someone said this to me, it really was an aha moment for me, but we all work from, let's say, 25 until 65. That's the typical working span of an individual here in America. But in that 40 years, you're actually funding, because we're going to live till we're 95 or 100, right? You're actually funding the next 30 years after. So you only work 40 years to fund about 80 years, let's say.
Right.
So it's so important that you're always saving for the future because you're actually paying for your future.
That's right.
So that's why the 20% for your future is so important.
So what happens if Miriam hears this and she realizes that 50 is 60?
So people write into LearnVest all day long and have this problem, and what we do is we help them come up with a few things. So if you can't cut your rent, which most people's rent, we want it to be less than 30% of their take-home pay. Doesn't happen typically in New York City. But so what we'll help them do is figure out how to cut back in other places. So if your rent's just really expensive, maybe you shouldn't get cable this year. Maybe you should get a roommate. Maybe you should find an extra way to make some more income. But basically, we come up with other ways to cut. If you haven't made a decision on where you should live, think about the 50-20-30 rule and always try to keep your rent less than 30%.
And also that 30 that's for fun is going to get cut back a little bit.
That's exactly
you aren't going
right.
to travel.
But it helps you really understand. And the big thing is if you're off on the 50-20-30 rule, like majorly off, whereas a lot of people's rent is more than 50% of their take-home pay, well, then you know that you're not saving properly for the future. You know that you're in a position to put yourself in jeopardy. That's what you don't want to do because financial security is so powerful.
That's really good.
Isn't that an awesome
50,
rule?
20, 30.
I love that one. I really, really love it.
I can't wait to get my pen out and see where I am. This is from Victoria. They used to say that renting was a waste of money when you could buy a home, but after the whole housing collapse, I've heard many people say it's now better to rent. What do you think?
So here's what, as a young person, here's my own personal philosophy on this. As young people, we are changing jobs all the time. We're moving cities all the time. So I think it's really important for you to rent unless you know that you can plant your feet solidly on the ground and that you can hold on to an apartment for more than 5 to 8 years. So what that means is you need to know if you have real career stability. And I think that a lot of people got in a lot of trouble thinking they could buy their job, they lost their job, or they had to move cities, they had to go back to business school or grad school, and then you're in a position where all of a sudden you're becoming a landlord, which is not necessarily the most fun job. So again, I think of renting as, yes, maybe it's not the most financially advantageous thing, but it's often better for your career because you can really make the right career decisions for yourself. And when you're younger, in your 20s and 30s, you want to be saying yes to all the best career options that you have to maximize your earnings.
Exactly. This is from Andrea. What's the single biggest mistake you see women make when it comes to their personal finances?
So, Andrea, this is an awesome question. The biggest thing is the power of compounding interest. When I was at Harvard, I went and saw someone, I went to a special lecture off campus about saving money, and one of the things was I saw a graph that said if you save for retirement in your 20s and 30s versus your 40s or 50s, just how powerful it is. And it's called compounding interest. I always say it's not magic, it's just math. You save early, your dollars actually work harder for you as time goes on, and therefore the biggest problem that women make is they don't start saving early enough for retirement. In your 20s and 30s, you're like, retirement seems so far away. But the big difference is if I could tell you starting in your 20s means you don't have to save as much in your 30s, 40s, and 50s because the money will do the work for you. You'd say, awesome, I'm going to really prioritize this.
You have to know that.
Yes, you do have to know that. And again, we don't learn it in school.
This is from PT624. I've been paying the minimum payments on my student loans, graduate and undergraduate. My amount every month is $414. I've been paying them for 6 years, and I have another 24 years to go. Is there any way to make this go faster? The $414 is really all I can afford, I think.
So here's how I would answer this question. So first things first, the average college senior who graduates from college has about $23,000 in student loans right now. So you're not alone. That's the average. So first, just deep breath and realize that student debt is considered good debt. It's actually not bad debt because you've actually invested in your future. And the government doesn't hold it against your credit score and lots of other really positive things. In general, if you have subsidized loans, so loans from the government, you can actually pay them off faster without any prepayment penalty. If you have private loans, loans from banks or private institutions, you often may have some sort of penalty if you pay them down faster. So you need to check that first. And then what I would do is see if you can consolidate, if you haven't already consolidated your loans, which means you can combine them and come up with a different payment period and potentially get lower interest rates. So those are all the things I would think about. But best of luck, and remember, you invest in your future and in your mind, which is, there's really nothing better than investing in yourself.
This is from Jordan. I know how important it is to have good credit, but the last time I had a credit report, I was told I didn't have enough credit history. I recently opened a credit card with my bank, but I'm not sure how to build my credit from there. How do financial institutions track your credit?
Sure. So there's 3 major things that affect your credit that everyone should know. So first, before I go into them, you should know that a credit score is the only grade that matters after you leave the education system, and it follows you forever. It ranges from 300 to 850, and you want to be above 760. And by having a good score, it means for your future, you can borrow for things like buying a home or anything that you may need to do starting a business at a much lower interest rate, which can save you hundreds of thousands of dollars.
And so how do you get a high credit score?
Yes, so the 3 biggest things that affect your credit score are, number 1, how long you've had credit. So if you've only had credit for 2 years versus 10 years, they obviously trust you more if you've had 10 years of history. Number 2, if you've ever missed bills. So you never want to make a late payment on any bill, whether it's a hospital bill or your AT&T bill. Never miss a payment. And then finally 3, when you have a credit card, you have a limit. So let's just say, Marlo, that you have a credit card that has a $5,000 limit. You never want to max out your credit cards. And in fact, you never want to spend more than 30% of what the limit is. So if you have $10,000 of limit, you never want to spend more than $3,000 without quickly paying it back, because they don't like to see your credit to debt ratio be too large. So again, you want credit history. So if you don't have a credit card in your own name, go get one, charge coffee once a month and pay it. You're starting to build good credit history. Never miss a bill, ever. It's just too painful for what it does to your credit score. And then 3, make sure that you pay your debt back quickly and never max out your credit cards.
Well, if you have a $5,000 credit balance then
Yes.
that you can reach, then what if you spend $5,000 and you pay it right away?
If
right?
you pay it right away, you're fine,
then I
but they
see.
don't like you carrying a balance.
I gotcha.
So they don't want you carrying that debt over and over.
And those minimums.
That's right.
Okay, this is from Anna. I'm looking to buy a new car in the next 6 months, but I'm so overwhelmed by the prices. I'm terrible at saving money, but I know I'm going to have to in order to have a decent down payment. Do you have any suggestions on how I can effectively put money aside but not feel like I'm sacrificing much?
Sure. So the first thing I would tell you in general, the best experts will say that when it comes to buying a car, buy used. Honestly, you're going to get, since a car is a depreciating asset, the second you drive off the lot, the price
Right.
literally plunges. Go buy a great used car that's 2 or 3 years old that doesn't have a lot of miles. You're going to save yourself a ton of money. And if you can buy it right out, that's great, and avoid getting debt, because car loan debt is considered bad debt because it's a depreciating asset. So it's not something you want to rack up a lot of. While trying to save for the car, also look at other options. So there's a great site called leasetrader.com that allows you to take the lease of other people who cannot afford their lease payment.
Great.
It's a very good, very inexpensive way for you to get good cars for less expensive. So I'd consider all those options and then start stockpiling away a little savings account for this, and then look forward to your new car.
That's great about getting a used car. That's
Yes,
right.
it's the smartest thing you can do. I would absolutely get a used car every single
Absolutely.
time I'd get a car.
This is from Gretchen in Ohio. Hi, Gretchen. Any tips on not going broke in a divorce? My husband and I are not on good terms as we go through this. Please help.
Oh, Gretchen, my heart goes out to you because honestly, this is just a really tough situation and I totally understand it. What I would do is I would come to our site, LearnVest.com, and actually talk to an expert to walk you through, because there's so many important things that you need to go through. So we have a team of certified financial planners across the country that work for LearnVest. We'll assign you to one and they'll help answer all your questions and you'll get unlimited support. I think there's just a lot of things that you need to think through, from legal documents to your estate planning to how you're going to divide your assets. And I think the big takeaway is you want to do your best, as tough as it may be, not to fight, because you don't want to rack up tons of lawyer bills. Those are just that's money that's going to go out the window, and you probably can't afford that because most people can't. So definitely go and talk to an expert. Someone at LearnVest.com would be great and be ready to help you.
This is from a USC alum. That's actually my alma mater.
Yeah.
As a recent college graduate, I'm just starting out in the work world, and I've heard so much about how important it is to find a mentor. However, I'm not so sure how to go about finding someone who's willing to be a mentor to me. Do you have any advice on how to seek out a mentor?
Yeah, so in my own life, I have mentors of all ages, and I think this is a really important thing. So I have mentors who are 2 or 3 years older than me, who are doing similar things that I am and can work with me. I also have mentors that are 30 years older than me, 40 years older than me, and I think it's really important. I have a mentor who is 75 years old, who's taught me some of the most valuable things that I've learned as generations are changing so quickly, and just reminding me the good, important values.
How did you find these mentors?
So he actually ultimately was going to be one of the investors in my startup, and we now get breakfast almost every month, and he's just taught me some of the most important things. Number one, you pick up the phone to talk to someone about anything that's important. If there's something important, there's no email, there's no texting, you pick up the phone.
Right.
Always show up early, and early doesn't mean 5 minutes early, it means 15 minutes early. And just different important values like that. So first, I would get a mentor a few years older than you, and one that's decades older than you, and I think it'll provide you really valuable perspectives. And then have genuine relationships with those mentors. They should be your real friends. You should think of them as friends, and make sure that you can help them just as much as they're helping you. It really should be a two-way street. And the place I'd look for them, look through your alumni system, look through your work system, go on LinkedIn, go through your parents' network, your friends' networks, and find people that you just have a real, genuine connection with.
That's great. And who are in the same field you're in, too.
That's right. That's right.
This is from Sasha. If you can only contribute $5,000 to your IRA per year and you're in your 30s, what's the best option for retirement?
So Sasha, great question. The best account would first be the following. If you work at a company that has a 401k that matches, which means they will literally give you free money if you put money away into your retirement, go there first, because that is literally like a bonus. It's cash that they will give you. So if you have a 401k at work that matches, go there first. If you don't, and if you make under $120,000, go get a Roth IRA. They're free to open. You can open them at all the big investment accounts. Go put $5,000 a year. That's the maximum. I recommend you typically do it at the beginning of the year, and then figure out what would be a good investment basket for you to make sure that you're maximizing for your future.
Do you ever get stumped? You're just amazing.
I love this
It's
stuff.
Wonderful. It's so great.
Thank you.
This is from Bella D. Hi, Alexa. My husband and I have been married for 20 years, and our finances have, for the most part, been shared. We've wondered whether there might be an advantage to separating a larger part of our money beyond our checking accounts. Is there an advantage to that?
Honestly, there's not. I mean, there may be an advantage personally for the two of you if it's better for you to be able to have some privacy with your account because you like to buy each other gifts, or you're fighting a lot over, he's buying his sports tickets, you're buying your favorite bag, and you just don't want to have that. But in general, once you're married, your assets really are ultimately combined. So again, it's more about your convenience. I think the most important thing is to really sit down. I typically recommend on a Saturday morning with no alcohol involved and talk about what you guys can do and what your goals are for your finances. This is sort of a fun tip. If you set savings goals with your significant other, so longer term goals, so you're saving for a big trip or saving for a second home or saving to put your grandchildren through college, whatever it may be, we find that people often have better sex lives once they're saving. And so if I can't convince you to care about your money for that reason, think about those other good reasons.
That's right. Sex will get them back.
Works every time.
And this is from Donna. My question is about social media and employment. A lot of my friends have 2 Facebook profiles, one for their personal lives and one for their professional lives. I must say, I don't know how I feel about that. It seems kind of dishonest. At the same time, I don't want potential employers poking around my vacation pictures. What do you think about it? Is it wise? Do employers really check Facebook profiles before they hire someone?
They absolutely do. I check them before we hire people.
Really?
Yes, of course. So first things first, your LinkedIn and your Facebook profile, consider them work profiles. Sorry. It's so important that you take down all that information, your party pictures. Don't let people tag you. My Facebook profile is basically a big black box. You see one picture, that's it, because I don't want people to be able to tag photos of me. And I think it's just really important in this day and age. Of course, employers are checking your Facebook profile before they hire you. If you do want to have a place where you can share information, you could go through the laborious process of setting up different blocking settings. But again, I would just say it's just not worth the risk. I know many people have been fired because of things that have ended up on their Facebook page. So I just think it's really important, and I'd say the answer is it's just not worth it. And I'd make them all professional profiles.
Here's one. Thomas says, I've been dating my girlfriend for a few years, and I'm thinking about proposing. How exciting. I want to buy her a nice diamond. How do people usually finance engagement rings? And how long does it take to save up for a nice one? Not extravagant, but nice.
So Thomas, congratulations, so exciting. I just got engaged a few months ago, so
great.
It's such a fun period in your life, and I'm really happy I didn't have to go through the process of buying a ring because I know how stressful it can be, I've heard. But so here's a typical rule of thumb is it, in general, should be about a month to 2 months of your take-home pay, but that's often a lot of money. And so here's what I would say. Think about what's really important. Look at your big financial goals first. It's not about just buying an expensive ring. You want to have a really happy life together. And so I want to make sure that you don't do anything to jeopardize your life, and then come up with what you can spend without going into debt for an engagement ring. That's how I would tackle it. And then just think outside the box so you can have someone make you a ring. I wouldn't go to the big box retailers. They're so extremely expensive and just not worth the markup for a brand name when at the end of the day, no one knows where your ring is from. So I would go see if you can have someone make one for you, because that often tends to save a lot of money. Or go to estate sales or antique stores where you can often get a beautiful, classic, I love antiques, truly historic ring that has probably even better metal work that's going to be less expensive. So anyways, best of luck. Good luck with that, and congratulations.
Yes, absolutely. This is from Rachel. After giving birth to my son, my husband and I decided that I should stay home and be a full-time parent. My husband is working, so we can get by, but we need to rearrange our budget. So where do we begin?
Yep, so Rachel, you're going through what I would call a major life event. At every life event, it makes sense for you to talk to a financial expert, because where you are is you're shifting a lot of things around, and you just had a child. So here's what I would have you do. First, I'd come to LearnVest, link your accounts, and get a sense of what you guys are spending every month against what you're actually earning. Beyond that, there's just so many other things you need to think about. Do you guys have the appropriate life insurance? Have you been thinking about the right education fund for your child? 529 versus all of these different savings accounts that you can get, EE bonds, etc., to be able to help save for your child's education. So there's more questions that you need to be asking than just what your budget should be right now, because you're going through such a big life event. So again, LearnVest can help, or look at other sites online where you can get some access to some experts who are trusted and can give you good, clear guidance.
Yeah, you can't do this on your own.
You can't. It's worth spending a little bit of money to make sure you get the right decisions.
Okay, this is our last question, I promise.
Perfect.
We're getting the choke here. This is from Lucy. What does diversification mean?
So awesome question. And you know the saying, never put all your eggs in one basket? Well, it applies exactly to investments. What diversification is it means you should spread your investment dollars across many different investments, 50, 100 different tiny investments, to make sure that not only are you not at risk if one of the companies goes under, that you're going to lose all of your money, but additionally you're exposed to different asset classes for different potential returns. By diversifying, you're decreasing your risk while potentially also having good gains for your future. So that's the best way to think about it. And again, the saying, don't put all your eggs in one basket, really applies to diversification as well.
Great. You're just wonderful.
Thank you so much.
You're just so good. I hope you all got your answers. I've got a lot more questions, but we only had a half hour. So they can write to you, right?
Yes. First, you can write into LearnVest.com, feedback at LearnVest, LearnVest.com, and check out LearnVest, where we have lots of really great free tools to help you or get all your answers to your questions.
Thank you, and see you next time.